Hallelujah! Is it happening? It's happening. Yes, yes. Oh, there we are. Wah! Let there be light. It's 12:15. I said a quarter after noon. And I meant it. So, yeah, we're super early. It's not 1:30. It's 12:15. And I did say 12:15. Oh, bing, 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 bing. Everyone's appearing. Hello. Man, who saw the show last night? I never mopped the kitchen floor so fast just to be done in time. You should have seen me trying to get the dishes. I've been putting the living room back together piece by piece. If you saw last night's show, it was totally cray-cray. We totally set up the living room over there. And with a brick wall and, well, not a brick wall, like a little fake brick wall, and lights and camera and everything. And I did a whole show. And it was crazy. So the wheelchair's still there, the back door. I got to take the back door down. But I did take down the light and the camera and everything. It's unbelievable. I don't know how it is. So I'm sort of gradually getting my house back together after the onslaught of doing those two shows. So hi. So yeah, so many things. This afternoon I'm doing a bunch of interviews because my friend Pamela Bob in New York is doing this thing, Living on a Prairie. She wrote this hysterical show about a woman who's obsessed with Little House on the Prairie. I play her therapist. And she's doing interviews. She's interviewing me. She's interviewing Charlotte Stewart, who's Miss Beadle. She's interviewing like all these people from the show. And today it's like me and Charlotte's turn. So I'm going to be doing like this, going blah, 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 blah for like hours. So I'm going to try to get one in. We're only doing one chapter. Going to do one chapter. But two quick things. One, it is indeed the, it's the 17th? It's the 17th. Oh, is it the 17th already? I can't even believe it. It's the 17th already. It's National Pack Rat Day. Or as I said to my husband, they gave us our own national holiday. We have like everything I ever owned is in the house somewhere. I'm surprised. I really need an attic. I should get an attic. So I needed a basement. They don't have those in California. It's National Cherry Cobbler Day. Okay, I'm making cherry cobbler tonight because yum. Graduation Tassel Day. Of course, because all the graduates. National Walnut Day. National Walnut? Is that like Walnut Grove? National Walnut Day. National Idaho Day. Hello, anyone in Idaho? National Take Your Parents to the Playground Day. Take your parents to the playground, but do observe appropriate social distancing. Bingo. There is a bingo card, Laura Ingalls Wilder Edition bingo. And it includes squares like visited Laura's birthplace. Oh, I don't have that one. I have not been to Pepin, Wisconsin, so I can't check that. Worn a bonnet is one of the squares. So we are definitely, all of us can check totally that every day is National Pack Rat Day for that. Yes, no, every day is National Pack Rat Day. Laura, worn a bonnet, did it. Rode in a covered wagon, did it. Tried hardtack, no. Watched Little House on the Prairie, the TV show. Do I get the extra like square for like being on it? I think I should. Read all the books. Yup. Played a Pioneer game. Yup. Visited the surveyor's house. Yes. Made homemade butter. Yes. Should make butter. Shared a Laura quote on social media. Yup. Read Pioneer Girl. I did not make a corncob doll, nor did I study Laura in school. But yes, it's fabulous. It's on Facebook. We'll be putting it up, and there you are. So, it's by the shores of Silver Lake. Now we're going to do one chapter because I gotta get ready for this thing. Now, the chapter is called Payday. Yeah, because we're in that railroad camp with the tough men. Yeah, and there's all the tough, rough men lining up for their checks, and you know what that's like. So. This gets a little rough. This is another one of these chapters. Such a lovely time. No violence or anything. This is another terrifying, crazy, violent, awful, how do these people even get to the day chapter. So it's lovely and wholesome. No. Payday. 2 weeks had gone by. And now Pa worked every evening after supper in his little office at the back of the store. He was making out the time checks. Yeah, Pa is doing payroll for the railroad. How many people have had a job where they did payroll? So, yes, payroll. Yikes. And Pa's doing payroll. And a lot of us know what that's like. Ugh. From the time book, he counted up the days each minute worked and figured how much he had earned. Yep. Then he looked at they punched their little cards, and he looked at the cards, same kind of thing. Then Pa figured out how much the man owed to the store. To that, he added the man's board bill at the cook shanty. He subtracted that amount for the man's wages and made out his time check. And you know how that works. The railroad's charging them rent, and they're charging them for their food, and then they're deducting that for their pay. So they're like, it's so awful. It's like what the coal mines did. It's terrible, terrible. So Pa's having to cut these checks for like practically no money to these poor people. On payday, Pa would give each man his time check and the money due him. Always before, Laura had helped Pa with his work. When she was very little in the big woods, she had helped him make the bullets for his gun. That involves hot lead, so that's kind of terrifying. In Indian Territory, she had helped him finish the house. And on Plum Creek, she had helped with the chores and the haying. But she could not help him now, for Pa said the railroad company would not want anyone but him to work in the office. Yes, they don't, and she's like 13. 13-year-old girls doing payroll for the railroad, not a thing. And the railroad had rules, and he's paymaster, so that's like a secure kind of position. They can't have other people reading their financial documents. No, Laura, let me go help Pa cut checks. No. Nope. Still, yes, we have goldfish today, goldfish and soda. Still, she always knew what he was doing, for the store was in plain sight from the shanty's doorway, and she saw everyone who came and went. One morning, she saw a fast team come dashing up to the store's door, and a man in fine clothes got quickly out of the buggy and hurried into the store. 2 more men waited in the buggy, watching the door and looking around them on every side, as if they were afraid. Ooh, excitement. In a little while, the first man came out and got into the buggy. After another look all around, they drove away quickly. Laura ran out of the shanty toward the store. She was sure that something had happened there. Her heart was beating wildly, and it gave a great flop when she saw Pa, safe and sound, come out of the store. Well, was she hoping something terrible had happened? What is going on here? Okay. Where are you going, Laura? Ma called after her, and now Laura answered, Nowhere, Ma. Pa came into the shanty and swung the door shut behind him. He took a heavy canvas bag out of his pocket. I want you to take care of this, Caroline, he said. It's the men's pay. Anybody that tried to steal it would come to the office. I'll take care of it, Charles, Ma said. She wrapped the bag in a clean cloth and worked it deep into her open sack of flour. She hid the pay, the cash from the railroad in her flour. We love that. Nobody'll ever think I'll look in there for it. Did that man bring it, Pa? Laura asked. Yes, that was the paymaster, said Pa. Those men with him were afraid, Laura said. Oh, I wouldn't say that. They were only guarding the paymaster for keep him from being robbed, Pa said. He's carrying a good many $1,000 in cash to pay all the men in the camps, and somebody might try to get it. But those men had guns enough on them and in the buggy. They had no need to be afraid. As Pa went back to the store, Laura saw the handle of his revolver showing from his hip pocket. She knew he was not afraid, and she looked at the rifle over the door and his shotgun standing in the corner. The Ingalls are armed to the teeth. Ma could get those guns. There was no fear that robbers could get that money. So we don't think of Pa, in the show. Yeah, he had a rifle and his little pack with his little gunpowder and his little bullets and hunting. But we don't think of Pa as a pistol on his hip and guarding the money and shooting robbers. It's like not really a thing that we think of with the show, but in the books, yeah, that's what happened. That night, Laura woke up often, and often she heard Pa stirring to in the bunk on the other side of the curtain. The night seemed darker and full of strange sounds because that money was in the flour sack. But no one would think of looking for it there, and no one did. Of course, after this book came out, I guess robbers were all looking in the flour, weren't they? Gotta be careful. Early in the morning, Pa took it to the store. This was payday. After breakfast, all the men gathered around the store, and one by one they went inside. One by one, they came out again and stood in little groups talking. They would not work that day. It was payday. At supper, Pa said he must go back to the office again. Some of the men don't seem to understand why they get only 2 weeks' pay, he said. Why don't they get paid for the whole month? Laura asked him. Well, you see, Laura, it takes time to make out all those time checks and send them in. And then the paymaster has to bring out the money. I'm paying the men their wages up to the 15th, and in another 2 weeks, I'll pay them up to now. Some of them can't get it through their thick heads that we've got to wait 2 weeks for their pay. They want to be paid right up to yesterday. Well, as we know now, that's generally how it works. In most places, if you are on a regular salary or even hourly at most jobs, offices, what have you, 2 weeks, you get paid every 2 weeks. There's places that pay once a week. If you have like a temp job, you often will get your check once a week. But generally, most places cut you a paycheck every 2 weeks. And sometimes, yeah, that's for 2 weeks. You're like, you may have said, oh, well, I've worked 5-6 days since then. But yes, but you're getting your 2 weeks. Now, they try to keep it current. But back then, people were like, don't I get cash? And don't I get all of it? No, we're setting up that 2-week system. So it was kind of a big deal back then. So, don't fret about it, Charles, said Ma. You can't expect them to understand how business is handled. Some of these guys, like you said, there was one guy who'd been in prison for murder. So some of these guys really were rough. Some of them were like, some of them, they worked on the railroad. They didn't even read or write. It's the 1800s. And some of the rough guys. So they were just like, cash, now, money, fork it over, babe. And all this paychecks and taking money out and taxes and whatnot and 2 weeks pay. They're like, that's hard. It's very hard. And they don't blame you, do they, Pa? Said Mary. Well, that's the worst of it, Mary. I don't know, Pa answered. Anyway, I've got some bookwork to do at the office. The supper dishes were soon washed, and Ma sat rocking Grace to sleep, with Carrie snuggled beside her. Laura sat beside Mary in the doorway, watching the light fade from the waters of the lake. She was seeing it out loud for Mary. She's still doing that thing, which is Mary's eyes for her. The last light is shining pale in the middle of the smooth lake. All around it the water is dusky, where the ducks sleep, and the land is black beyond. The stars are beginning to twinkle in the gray sky. Pa has lighted his lamp. It shines out yellow from the back of the black store. Ma, she cried out, there's a big crowd of men. Look. Uh-oh. The men were crowding around the store. They did not say anything, and there was not even any sound of their feet on the grass. Only the dark mass of men was growing larger, very fast. Oh, this isn't going to be good. Oh dear, Ma rose quickly and laid Grace on the bed. Then she came and looked out over Laura's head and Mary's. She spoke softly. Come inside, girls. Oh, yeah, when Ma gets quiet, it's not a good time. When Ma goes, try her bed, Laura. Come inside. She means, get in the house. So, yeah, she tries to remain calm. Come inside, girls. When they obeyed her, she shut the door, all but a crack. She stood looking out through the crack. Oh. She did not bolt the door. She left it open a crack so she could keep an eye on Pa. Am I spilling things? It's disgusting. It's Coca-Cola. It'll be okay. So she's peeking out through the crack here. Mary sat in the chair with Carrie, but Laura peeped out under Ma's arm. The crowd was close around the store. 2 men went up the step and pounded on the door. The crowd was quiet. The whole dusky twilight was quiet for a moment. Then the men pounded again on the door, and one called, "Open the door, Ingalls!" Pa's alone in there. The Payday men, the guys from the Paymaster, aren't there with their guns. It's Pa by himself with a little pistol, and there's like whole 30 guys or more out there. The door opened, and there in the lamplight stood Pa. He shut the door behind him, and the 2 men who had knocked stepped backward into the crowd. Pa stood on the step with his hands in his pockets. "Well, boys, what is it?" he asked quietly. Pa's a cool customer. He's just, hi, what's up? Huge crowd of armed men. Hey, what's happening? What's up, boys? A voice came from the crowd. "We want our pay." Other voices shouted, "Our full pay. Come across with that 2 weeks' pay you kept back. We're gonna get our pay." They're angry. "You'll have it 2 weeks from now, just as soon as I can get your time checks made out," said Pa. The voices shouted again. "We want it now. Quit stalling. We're going to have it now." Did anybody see Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, the original? Veruca Salt. It's the real Veruca Salt. I want it now. They want it now. I can't pay you now, boys, Pa said. I won't have the money to pay you until the paymaster comes again. Open up the store, somebody answered. Then the whole crowd yelled, That's it, that's good enough, open the store, open up that store. Okay, he just told them the money is not there. And nope, they don't care. No, boys, I won't do that, Pa said coolly. Come in tomorrow morning, and I'll let each man have all the goods he wants on his account. Open up that store, or we'll open it for you, came a shout. Oh, these guys are nuts. A growl rumbled from the crowd. The whole mass of men moved in toward Pa as if that growl moved them. This is getting scary. Laura ducked under Ma's arm, but Ma's hand clenched on her shoulder and pulled her back. Oh, let me go, they'll hurt Pa! Let me go, they'll hurt Pa! Laura screamed in a whisper. Laura's ready to go out there unarmed and take on like 50 railroad workers and save Pa. She's that kind of girl. Be still, Ma told her in a voice Laura had never heard before. Laura's pretty stern. Laura knows Ma. Laura knows Ma is tough. So when Ma says, be still, and she actually says she's never even heard her use that tone, that's yikes. Stand back, boys. Don't crowd too close, said Pa. Laura heard his cold voice and stood trembling. Oh, even Pa's going, back off. Then she heard another voice behind the crowd. It was deep and strong, not loud, but plainly heard. What's up, boys? In the dark, Laura could not see the red shirt, but only Big Jerry was so tall. He stood head and shoulders above the shadowy figures of the crowd. Beyond them, in the dark, was a pale blur that would be his white horse. A confusion of voices answered Big Jerry, and then he laughed. His laugh was big and booming. Oh, you fools, Big Jerry laughed. What's the fuss about? You want the goods out of the store? Well, tomorrow we'll take what we want of them. They'll still be here. Nobody'll stop us getting what we started. Laura was hearing rough language. Big Jerry was using it. Oh, no. What he said was all mixed with swear words and with other words she had never heard. She hardly heard them now because she felt all broken up. She felt as if everything was smashed like a dropped plate when Big Jerry took sides against Pa. Now, I don't know. Now, Big Jerry, he's saying, yeah, we can raid the store. We can take stuff, but tomorrow. So he's encouraging them, saying, we'll take everything, but he is telling them to come back tomorrow. I is telling them not to attack Pa, so maybe he's, like, helping? I don't know. It's very weird. Big Jerry. So when's the NASCAR race starts soon? It's okay. I'll be done any minute. Oh, no. The crowd was all around Big Jerry now. He was calling some of the men by their names and talking to them about drinking and playing cards. Some of the crowd went with him toward the bunkhouse. Then the rest of it broke into smaller pieces and scattered away in the dark. Big Jerry wasn't taking their side. Big Jerry was saving Pa and saving Pa's bacon. That's what he just did. He just created a distraction and rescued Pa from the crowd because Big Jerry is actually his friend. Yay. Ma shut the door. Bedtime, girls, she said. Laura went trembling to the bed as Ma told her to. Pa did not come. Now and then she heard an outbreak of loud, rough voices from the camp, and sometimes singing. She knew she would not sleep till Pa came. Then her eyes opened suddenly. It was morning. Beyond Silver Lake, the sky was burning gold, and one line of red cloud lay across it. The lake was rosy, and wild birds flew up clamoring. The camp was noisy, too. All around the boarding shanty, the men were gathered in a milling crowd, talking excitedly. I like how Big Jerry was like all swear words, said words you'd never heard. That was hilarious. Ma and Laura stood outdoors at the corner of the shanty watching. They heard a shout and saw Big Jerry jump onto his white horse. Come on, boys, he shouted, all aboard for the fun. Oh, no, he's like leading the riot now. The white horse reared and whirled and reared again. Big Jerry gave a wild whoop. The white horse broke into a run, and away they went over the prairie toward the west. All the men rushed to the stable in a minute. Man after man was on his horse and following Big Jerry. The whole crowd went streaming away in the horses and was gone. Oh, look, Big Jerry just created another distraction and led them away from Pa and the store. A great cool quietness came over the camp and over Laura and Ma. Well, Ma said, they saw Pa walk from the store toward the boarding shanty. Fred, the foreman. Hey, Fred, where you been? Fred, the foreman's supposed to be helping with this. Fred, the foreman, came out of it and met him. They talked a minute. Then Fred went to the stable, got on his horse, and galloped away to the west. Pa was chuckling. Ma said she did not know what there was to laugh about. That big Jerry, Pa's laugh rang out. By gum, if he didn't lead him all the way to their devilment somewhere else. Where? Ma asked sharply. Pa was sober then. There's a riot at the Stebbins camp. Everybody's flocking there from all the camps. You're right, Caroline. It's no laughing matter. Yeah, but they're not doing it his camp, are they? Because Big Jerry. All day the camp was quiet. Laura and Mary did not go for their walk. There was no telling what might be happening at Stebbins camp, nor when that dangerous crowd would come back. Ma's eyes were anxious all day, her lips were tight, and now and then she sighed without knowing it. After dark, the men came. But they rode into camp more quietly than they had left it. They ate supper in the boarding shanty, and then they went to bed in the bunkhouse. 2 days of preventing a riot, that's good. Laura and Mary were still awake when Pa came late from the store. They lay quiet in their bunk and heard Pa and Ma talking beyond the lamplit curtain. Nothing to worry about now, Caroline, Pa said. They're tired out and everything's quiet. He yawned and sat down to take off his boots. What did they do, Charles? Was anyone hurt? Ma asked. Oh, they strung up the paymaster, said Pa. And one man was hurt bad. They put him in a lumber wagon and started back east with him to find a doctor. Oh, don't get so upset, Caroline. We better thank our stars. We got off so easy. It's all over. They strung up the paymaster. Paul is the paymaster. Had they done this and that, they tried to hang the pay. You strung up the paymaster. That's not good. It's all over. I don't get upset till it is over, Ma said. Her voice was shaking. Come here, said Pa. Laura knew that now Ma was sitting on Pa's knee. There, I know you don't, he said to her. Never mind, Caroline. The grading's pretty near done. The camps will be closing down and gone before long, and next summer we'll be settled on the homestead. When are you going to pick it out? Said Ma. Because he was supposed to do that while they were still in Walnut Grove. He was supposed to go on ahead and do that. It's been months. He still hasn't done it. Quick as the camps close. I don't have a minute away from the store till then, said Pa. You know that. Yes, I know, Charles. What did they do about this man? Did they killed the paymaster? They didn't kill him, said Pa. It was this way. You see, it's the same at the Stebbins camp as here. The office is a lean-to at the back of the store. It is one door to the store, and that's all. The paymaster stayed in the office with the money and kept the door locked. He paid the men through a little opening beside the door. Stebbins has got over 350 men drawing pay there, and they wanted their pay up to now like the men here wanted it. When they got paid only to the 15th, they acted ugly. Most of them wear guns, and they were in the store threatening to shoot up the place unless they got their full pay. In the melee, a couple of men got to quarreling, and one of them hit the other over the head with the weight from the scales. He dropped like a struck ox. Like a struck ox. And when they dragged him out into the air, they couldn't bring him back to his senses. So the crowd started out with a rope after the man that hit him. They trailed him easy enough into the slough, and then they couldn't find him in the high grass. They thrashed around looking for him through that slough grass taller than their heads, till I guess they'd ruined any trail he'd left. They kept on hunting him till past noon. And lucky for him, they didn't find him. When they got back to the store, the door was locked. They couldn't get in. Somebody had loaded the hurt man into a wagon and headed back east to look for a doctor. By this time, men were piling out of the place from all the other camps. They ate everything they could get hold of in the boarding shanty, and most of them were drinking. They kept pounding on that store door and yelling to the paymaster to open up and pay them, but nobody answered. A crowd of near 1,000 drunken men, oh, that's dangerous, is an ugly thing to deal with. Yeah, no kidding, Pa. Jeez. Somebody caught sight of that rope and shouted, "Hang the paymaster!" The whole crowd took it up and kept on yelling, "Hang him, hang him." See, this is called Mob psychology. It's very dangerous. A couple of men got on top of the lean-to roof and tore a hole in the shingles. They left the end of the rope dangling over the edge of the roof, and the crowd grabbed hold of it. The two fellows dropped down onto the paymaster and got the noose around his neck. Yikes. Stop, Charles, the girls are awake, said Ma. Oh, pshaw, that's all there is to it, Pa said. They hauled him up once or twice is all. He gave in. Pa's like, they put a noose around his neck and hung him off the roof, but he didn't die. It's good, it's all good. All's well that ends well, as Pa always says. Yikes. They didn't hang him? Well, not enough to hurt much. Pa, seriously? Not enough to hurt much? They just hung him, but like not much. Some of the crowd was breaking down the store door with neck yokes, and the storekeeper opened it. One of the fellows in the office cut the rope and let the paymaster down, and opened up the pay window, and the paymaster paid every man what he claimed was due him. A good many men from the other camps crowded in and drew pay too. There wasn't any bothering with time checks. That's terrible, because some of them, they took money that completely was not theirs. This is going to be a big problem. Shame on him, Laura cried out. Pa drew back the curtain. What did he do it for? I wouldn't, she went on. Before Pa or Ma could say a word, there she was, sitting up on her knees in bed, her fists clenched. You wouldn't what? Said Pa. Pay them. They couldn't make me. They didn't make you. That mob was bigger than ours. And the paymaster didn't have Big Jerry to help him, said Pa. But you wouldn't have Pa, Laura said. Shh, Ma, hush them. You'll wake Grace. I'm thankful the paymaster was sensible. Better a live dog than a dead lion. What? Better a live dog than a dead lion. Well, what Ma is saying is, discretion is the better part of valor. Sometimes better, as they say, to run away, live to fight another day. Sometimes, yes, you have to say, ooh, yeah, this battle, not dying here. Yeah, gotta go. It's very sad. Oh, no, Ma, you don't mean that, Laura whispered. Laura's all about being a lion. Oh, and what does she say? What did I just said discretion is the better part of valor. I just said it. Ma says, anyway, discretion is the better part of valor. You girls go to sleep. Please, Ma, Mary whispered. How could he pay them? Where did he get the money when he'd already paid out what he had? That's so. Where did he? Ma asked. From the store. It's a big store, and it had already taken in most of what the men had been paid. They spend as fast as they get it, said Pa. Now mind your Ma, girls, and go to sleep. He let the curtain fall. Very softly under that quilt, Mary and Laura talked until Ma blew out the lamp. Mary said she wanted to go back to Plum Creek. Laura did not answer that. She liked to feel the great, wild prairie all around the little shanty. Her heart beat strong and fast. She could hear in her mind again the savage, fierce sound of that crowd's growl and Pa's cold voice saying, "Don't crowd too close." And she remembered the sweating men and sweating horses moving strongly through clouds of dust, building the railroad in a kind of song. She did not want ever to go back to Plum Creek. Wow. Wow. That was scary. So this is lovely, dear, sweet Laura Ingalls. Laura is like, yeah, rough men. So she heard Jerry swear and the whole bit, and she saw these people with guns who could have killed her Pa, and then Jerry led him away and saved Pa, but then they rioted in another town and almost murdered the paymaster. They hung him by the neck. He's probably terribly injured. They had hurt another man bad enough to go to the hospital, and then they robbed the store and took like money that wasn't theirs from the store and paid. Yeah, and guys who didn't even work there. It just said people who didn't work there. It said, and I'll have some pay too. Yikes! And there's Laura going, this is more like it. Mary's like, we gotta go back to Plum Creek, and Laura's like, I like it here. So yeah, Laura's crazy. Laura Ingalls Wilder is a bit cray-cray, and she likes the rough and exciting, wild life. She's not a country girl. She's a city girl. She wants action, baby. I'm kind of with her, although I don't think I'd want to live in a railroad camp. That sounds awful. Those people sound terrifying. So I'll stay out of railroad camps. Thanks. But I do like trains. All's well that ends well. Exactly, as Paul would say. All's well that ends well. They didn't hang me. And that Jerry guy. Thank God for Jerry. So we will, tomorrow is, it's Monday tomorrow. It's Monday. So we'll do some reading. Now, I did check in with baby Grace, Wendy Lou Lee, and she's going to read a little. She's going to read a little of this at some point. Maybe, I don't know. We'll try to get to it. Because I am going to take like a day and go like, where am I? I'm going to take a little time because I did 2 shows. You know, I did my shows and I did this. I'm going to take like some time to lie in the sun in my yard and like pretend I'm in Hawaii or something because I'm crazy. It'll be awesome. Tomorrow, I will see you tomorrow, and we'll read some more, and yeah, we are out of bonnets. I'm clinging to this one. Soon, we will have bonnets. I have talked to them, and you guys are amazing. Thanks for coming to my show last night. That was fun, and thanks for hanging with me, and wash your hands, and wear your bonnets, and wear your masks, and hang in there, and I'll see you tomorrow.